Hello, everybody.
Welcome back to another episode of
A BJJ Marriage, where we talk about our lives as a married jiu-jitsu couple.
Woohoo!
Take two.
We're doing another episode.
Episode 78. Welcome back, everyone, to A BJJ Marriage with your hosts, Nick and Brittany Lee.
Yes.
We know it's been about 2 weeks, so we apologize for that delay. But we're trying to stay on a consistent schedule. We're doing
the best we can.
Yeah.
There's a lot going on.
It's been busy. We probably also will not do an episode next week because Master Sauer is going to be here.
Well, maybe we can do something with him.
He won't.
Maybe.
He's a busy guy. I'm not going to get him to come on our little tiny podcast. But Master Sauer is going to be staying at our house next week, so that's super exciting.
Very exciting, yes.
Get to hang out with him again. This will be the third time now.
Mm-hmm. And 2 weeks ago, we were in Colorado.
Yeah.
Is that right? 2 weekends ago?
2 weekends ago.
That's kind of crazy because it feels like forever ago.
I know, and then I got COVID.
You got what?
The unspeakable disease. No, we were in Colorado. I know we had talked about that for a seminar. And apparently I caught COVID, but no one else did.
You're just weak.
Yeah, apparently. But Colorado was super fun.
Yes.
We went down to Denver, and we actually stayed in Littleton, which is just about 30 minutes.
A little south of Denver.
Yeah.
Just like a suburb.
Mm-hmm.
Almost like Oak Creek. For Milwaukee.
Sure. It was a really nice little town, though. Apparently, Littleton is like the richer neighborhood of the Denver suburbs.
Yeah, it was nice in there.
Mm-hmm. A lot of good restaurants.
Right next to the mountains.
Right next to it. It was so cool. We had a 6-minute drive to our huge hike that we did. Whereas, like, if we want to do a huge hike here, we have to drive 2 or 3 hours.
Right.
So that was super cool. But yeah, Denver was awesome. We got to hang out at 2 different gyms this time.
We only hit up 2 gyms. We meant to make it to more, but we were also being tourists.
Yeah, so we first got to go hang out with the ever so famous godfather of Milwaukee, Henry Matamoros.
Yes.
Sorry if you're not from Milwaukee and you don't know who he is, but basically Henry is the reason that jiu-jitsu exists in Milwaukee.
Yes. Henry's one of the original Pedro Sauer guys that would go around and fight with the Pedro Sauer team and help make jiu-jitsu known the way it is.
Absolutely. Super cool dude. I think he's a fourth degree black belt now.
Something like that.
Yeah. So he's awesome, super fun. And
it was great to meet him.
Yeah, he was my dad's first mentor. My first coach.
Jiu-jitsu?
Yeah.
Yes.
First jiu-jitsu gym, first coach. My dad started under him as a white and blue belt, I believe. But yeah, Henry moved to Denver a few years ago, about 8 years ago, I think. And then he actually doesn't run a school anymore. He just trains for fun now. The stress of running a school was not for him. So he decided to live a normal life and train jiu-jitsu more as a hobby now.
Yeah, he grows cannabis for his job. So good for him.
Yeah. That's what you can do in Denver, huh?
Yes.
So yeah, we got to go, we reached out to him and we were like, hey, where are you training? Like, we'd love to roll with you. And so we ended up going to a noon class with Henry and training at his gym. Can't remember the name of it.
Mente.
Thank you.
He trains at a gym called Mente, who is now run by Troy Everett.
Yes.
Who is also a Fight to Win veteran who does many Fight to Win events and has worked with that promotion for a while also. He was a pretty cool dude. I noticed the style that he was teaching his gym. I noticed there were some moves that they had all worked on and were trying on me. And it was cool because that's one of the things about when you go to different schools, roll with different styles, you find different holes in your game.
Yeah, because typically when you're rolling with the same people at your gym, you tend to get to know each other's games, and it's always fun, and you're always evolving. But like when you go to a different gym, you have no idea what their game is. So you have to
figure it out.
Yep.
Or get found out.
Yeah. So we went to their noon class, and that was really fun. Really cool. We got to roll with a couple different people.
Yeah, there was like a few blue belts, a couple black belts, and a white belt.
Yeah.
And I think that was, and then
purple.
me, and then
I think there was a purple belt too. Wasn't he purple?
Wasn't he 4-stripe blue?
I don't remember. We switched belts. He grabbed my belt.
Yeah.
So there's a guy there's a guy there who was a 1-stripe blue belt, and after our roll, I was looking around for my belt because it fell off, and I looked and I was like, that's not my belt, even though it was a 1-stripe blue belt, and I was like, that's not my belt. And then I realized the other 1-stripe blue was wearing my belt, and I'm like, how did he even wear that? How did he fit that?
How do you figure that was his? I think that everybody sees their own belt enough where they will know instantly if that's their belt or not.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yours is falling apart again.
Yeah, I've got 3 more stripes to go on this bad boy. Somehow.
Good luck to that one.
Yeah. I mean, this belt is... I have to get a new belt for competition.
Yeah,
I can't compete with this anymore.
Why don't you wear your tie-dye one?
I wore that open mat.
I know you did.
And so many people complimented my tie-dye belt and my tie-dye gi. You notice I packed your tie-dye gi so we can match?
Yes. I also noticed you put on your sandalwood gi today.
Well, these are our warmest gis, and I'm pretty cold this morning.
Yeah, so in Denver, so we got to roll at Nova Mente, and that was super fun, but it was just an open mat, so it wasn't a class. So
it was supposed to be a class.
Yeah.
But apparently whatever Henry says goes, and we showed up, and Henry was like, we're rolling today. We still did warm-ups, but he was like, okay, we're rolling.
My favorite part of that was, so like I said, my dad had trained under Henry in the very beginning, so 21 years ago. 21 years ago, I was 6. And so I had started jiu-jitsu when I was very little, when my dad started, just so, because, you know, it's what you do. And I've talked about this in depth before, so I'm not going to go super far into it, but it didn't work out for me. I didn't like it. But Henry obviously knew me as a little girl, and I had seen Henry here and there in the last couple of years, but not really like in that close of a place. And so he was like, Brittany, come roll. I haven't rolled with you since you were like 11. And I was like, well, that's weird.
That is awesome.
And then I thought about like, man, what would have happened if I would have stayed with it at 11?
Yeah.
I think I was like 7, not 11, but whatever,
Sure.
Whatever Henry says goes.
Yep. And then he called me Lee.
Yep.
He called me Nick.
Yep.
And he also said that Brittany's better than me.
He did. He did, actually. I enjoyed that quite a bit.
Which is part of our actual topic today.
Yeah. So after we rolled with Henry that day, we were back in our hotel and showering and getting ready for whatever our plans were that night.
I was in the shower, so I didn't witness this discussion.
Yeah. And so Henry ends up calling my dad, and Henry just goes, oh, Brenton, it was so good to see you today. Like, we should really do dinner while you're still in town. Because that was like our first day there. So we still have 4 more days in Denver. He's like, oh, yeah, for sure, Henry. We can get something set up. Like, let's do it. And Henry was like, and tell your daughter that she put me in more danger than Lee. And he was like, you tell her that. So he put him on speaker. And he's like, Brittany, you were a great roller. You put me in a lot of danger. I had to do stuff. He's like, your husband didn't put me in that much danger. And I said, dang, Nick, you got to step up your game when you're rolling with black belts. So. Which we'll get into that in a little bit.
Yes.
So, yeah, that was our first trip. And then our second training session was at Morning Star.
Yes.
Which we've talked about. I should have worn that rash guard today.
Oh, yeah. Brent taught a theory seminar at Morning Star Jiu Jitsu 2 weekends ago today. Wow. It's been a long 2 weeks.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was a great seminar. We had a lot of good fun rolling with a bunch of people there. It was no gi. Brent taught about the Cog Theory, which is you need certain steps in any system to complete the system. And if you can pluck out or stop a system from going through all of those steps, they will never get the end result, which is submission.
Yeah, and he pulled the Cog Theory out from the cogs on a watch. So if you have a nicer watch, then you know that whenever there's a cog in it, and if you were to take out any one of those pieces, the watch would stop working. And so that's kind of how he implemented that into his jiu-jitsu game, is that think about a basic submission such as an Americana and everything that you do. You don't think about all the steps it takes to do an Americana. You're just like, oh, I'm going to do an Americana. But if you really were to break it down step by step by step, if you were explaining it to a day 1 white belt, you would have to go through like 5 to 7 steps depending on how you articulate things. And so if you can pull out one of those 5 steps, then you can't finish the Americana as a defense. And so that's kind of what his whole theory was, is he started with the Americana just to show them, like, hey, this is a very basic, easy submission that most people learn within their first, like, month of jiu-jitsu. But even the most advanced people can't finish it on you if you just take out one of their cogs.
Yeah, if you stop the system somehow. Yeah, so, yeah, which is fantastic. And we also did that for the Dars, and we did it for... What else did we do for?
The rear naked.
Rear naked choke.
Yep.
Yeah. And we did question and answer.
Yeah, and the way he opened it up was, who here is really good at something and you want to stop them? Or who here wants to know how to defend something better because you keep getting caught in it? That kind of thing. And so he opened it up. And so apparently, because they're a no-gi gym, they do a lot of darses. So someone wanted to learn how to defend a darse. So we went through that, which was that was all new for me. Because we don't do darses
as much at our gym.
So that was cool.
Yep.
That one I actually participated in.
I just went over darses with Josh on Wednesday.
Nice.
Because I know that's a big hole in my game. And shout out to one of my Twitter friends who I think we're both working on darses right now. He's a black belt in Tennessee.
Cool.
He's a cool dude. Anyways.
So yeah, we trained there, and then we did an open mat afterwards, after the seminar. Got to roll with a bunch of people. That elevation was killing me, though.
I was fine.
I had COVID.
Not at the gym.
It's possible. We don't know. I didn't actually start feeling sick until I got home, but yeah, it was rough.
You're going to give this podcast a COVID warning.
Probably. No, it was, I mean, the elevation, it really makes you understand that your cardio is not where it's supposed to be.
It's just different.
When you're training 7,000 feet above sea level.
Yeah.
But, yeah, so I don't know why they do that every time we record. They don't do it any other time. They sleep all the time. Anyway, so yeah, Denver was cool. We also got to go on a couple really fun hikes.
Yes, we did.
Which was awesome.
We climbed up a mountain that was 7,200 feet above elevation. We started at like 5,000 feet. That was very fun. We went through like all 4 seasons when we hiked that mountain.
Yeah, that was wild.
Yeah, it was like 70 degrees when we started, and then it was sunny, and then there was like a shady part with like fall and leaves starting to fall down and leaves changing, and then we walked. It snowed the day before, so we walked through a really shaded part in the like deep in the mountain and forest area, and there was still snow everywhere. It was like a layer of snow. But the sun was still shining through the trees, so the sun was melting all of the snow on top of the trees. So it was snow on the bottom. It was rainy in like springtime, in where the trees were just like raining from the snow that was melting. It was like snow melt rain.
But it felt like we were walking through rain.
Yeah, but we were also walking through snow.
Yeah, it was very.
But the sun was also felt nice. It was that was a pretty wild experience.
Yeah, it was fun though.
Yeah, it was beautiful. And then we got to the top of the mountain, and we could look out and see very far.
We hung out up there for a little bit and had some really good donuts.
Yep. They were great donuts.
They weren't so good the next day when we were sober, but that day they were pretty great.
Yes. And then what else? Oh, we also saw a concert in Denver.
We went to Red Rocks, and we went to go see one of our favorite DJs, Rez.
Not Recno?
Oh my god. Let's not talk about it. I always say we don't get political on this podcast. That's a pretty political statement.
They're just a DJ.
Anyway. So, yeah, we went and saw Rez at Red Rocks, and that was freaking awesome.
Yeah, she was fantastic.
So cold. Oh my god.
Oh yeah, very cold.
I don't think I've ever been that cold in my life.
It was cold and wet.
Yeah.
It was like 35 degrees, maybe 38 degrees tops.
But mountain cold is way different than Wisconsin cold.
Yeah.
So it was really different for us. Like 37 degrees home, we can kind of walk around in a spring jacket, and especially if the sun's out, it's really not that bad. 37 degrees at night in the wet rain mountains felt like I was in a frozen tundra.
A frozen tundra.
I was freezing.
You survived.
I did.
That's why you got COVID.
Probably.
I don't know.
I don't know. I didn't start feeling sick until I got home, though. So that was kind of, I mean, it was good because then I got to enjoy my vacation, but kind of a bummer.
Yeah. So that was Denver. That was 2 weekends ago.
Yeah.
What happened last week?
I was sick. What did we do last week?
Nothing. You're right.
Oh, a fight. There was a fight. That I couldn't go to.
No, you couldn't go to the fight because you were sick. But I fought in the cage for Inverse Fighting. Inverse Fighting Association, which is a fight promotion ran by Inverse Gear out of Oconomowoc. That's connected with Open Guard Gym. And it was a great time. The event, I thought, ran really smoothly, as smooth as possible. The promoters were really nice to all the fighters. They gave us some free swag. I got to keep the gloves that I fought in, which was pretty cool. The venue was fantastic. It was real big and lots of seating. There was a balcony. Yeah, the whole promotion was great. Had a good time fighting for Inverse Fighting. And the tickets were a little bit expensive, but that's, I think, because the venue was such a good venue. Mm-hmm. And it was a good place to have the event. But, yeah, I was the second Pankration fight of the night. I fought against a tough Mark Anton, or Pal Anton, if you know him. And
Pankration, for those who don't know, is just an MMA fight, but without head strikes.
Yeah, MMA with no head strikes. So grappling, a lot of times it ends up going to the ground. But sometimes they just stand and bang, just shooting punches at the body all day, which is fine. But, yeah, the fight went... it was an interesting fight. Mm-hmm. So he ended up being, like, a lot bigger than me. Like, noticeably, there was a size difference.
Taller, bigger. But, like, I think he walks around at, like, 190, so I think he was...
That's my guess. He fights at 185. I fight at 170.
Yeah. So we're assuming he cut down to 185.
170 is, like, my walk-around weight anyways.
Yeah. But he looks like he would walk around at 190 comfortably.
Yes.
Like, just as an average dude.
Yeah, taller, longer. Mm-hmm. And it was like, all right, cool. Yeah, let's do it.
But and for those of you who are wondering why they even got matched up because of that, then it's because Nick's a purple belt and then Pal is a blue belt. So they figured that the size difference would kind of make up for the rank difference. And then it would be more of an even match.
Yeah, something along those lines.
Yeah.
I don't know. I was just game. I accepted the fight. I was like, let's do it. I want to fight.
Yeah.
Originally, I had applied to do a cage grappling match. Mm-hmm. And they were like, how about Pankration? And I was like, okay, fine. You sold me.
Hard sell.
Yes, I'll do it. So yeah, we get in the cage. He's a big dude. I saw him before, like we were feeling out the cage. And I was like, hey man, we shook hands, gave each other, a little bro hug. We're like, it's going to be a good time. Let's do it.
You guys have known each other too. Like you've rolled before and...
Yeah, we've seen each other at like open mats and events and stuff like that. So I was like, all right. And we got into the cage. Second Pankration fight of the night. And I definitely came out with like too much fury. Because if you've ever seen me compete before, I like to set the tone of the match immediately. And like put people on their back feet and make them defend. Typically, I'm like a pressure fighter. And that's jiu-jitsu or also in Pankration. This is my second fight now. But I probably came out too strong and the cage was pretty small. So basically, I like bum rushed him and hit him a few times. And he didn't like that. I did hit him with a good, nice leg kick to start the fight, like I like to do. He didn't like that. And then he basically went to like tackle me and pushed me into the opposite side of the cage. And I was able to spin him out a little bit. I think we ran into the ref actually. And then he ended up pinning me up against the cage. And then he picked me up. And then I was holding on to him like a standing guillotine. And then he slammed me into the ground from like his shoulder height, which was like a giant slam. And I remember seeing a bright flash of lights when I hit the canvas.
Remember when you said you felt fine?
I did. I I do feel fine.
So I'm just like sitting watching this. I had someone FaceTime me so that I could watch it live with them. And I'm just laying in the bed watching this. And you should have seen my face when that happened. I literally like covered my eyes and I was like, no.
But thankfully, I was still being smart when I grabbed onto him because I felt like I was getting slammed. So I did have a guillotine hold and I stayed curled up as much as possible and like super tight so that my head didn't like slap and hit the ground, which in the video you can tell it's like very close, but my head definitely did not hit the ground. But I still got some whiplash from that, which I could feel a few days later for sure. My head definitely was like, whoosh.
Yeah, it did.
Yes. So that was awesome. And then I bounced directly into the guillotine attack again. Like the slam, I'm pretty sure most people would expect that I would kind of like flop a little bit and it would give him some advantage and some, pass my guard or get some strikes in or something like that. But I literally just held on to the guillotine and adjusted into a butterfly guard immediately, like without missing a beat. Mm-hmm. It was like thunk, butterfly guard. And then I played guard for a little bit. He was close to passing my guard. And then I was able to get my feet on his hips, push him away, get a couple up kicks in. And then I went to stand up again. And then he caught a single leg while I was standing up, pulled me down to the ground again. We did a few other little exchanges on the ground. He...
Which, by the way, was a crazy thing for people to see because Nick hasn't gotten taken down in a competition in a very long time. Yeah. So that was... I mean, props to you, pal. Seriously, that doesn't really happen very often. So that was super cool. Yeah. Fight. And then also, Nick hasn't had to use his guard in a competition in
ever since,
long time.
Since I was a blue belt, I think. I haven't used my guard.
Yeah. So that's really cool, pal.
Yes. And yeah, so there was one time where he went for a big strike. I shot up a triangle, caught his head and his arm. He got his head out. And then I still had his far side arm in my legs. I spun underneath him and did basically like an inverted arm bar. Not a choi bar. I would definitely call it an inverted arm bar. And I got his arm fully extended. And then here's the controversial part of the fight is I know his arm was extended. We were in my corner. My coaches saw his arm extended and I was tugging on his arm. And as the armbar swept him, he tapped on my thigh, and the ref stopped it because he saw the tap, and I let go of the submission because I felt the tap, and then he said that he didn't tap, and then the ref was like, what? And my corner was like, what? And I was like, what? And then he was like, I didn't tap. And then the ref paused there for a second, evaluated everything, and then he stopped the fight, said that he did tap, and the fight was over. But that killed the energy of the whole crowd. Mm-hmm. It was dead silent in the room.
Except for me, apparently.
Yeah. Brittany was on FaceTime, and the whole room was silent because nobody knew what was going on. And Brittany's just on the phone saying, what the fuck happened? Apparently, the people that were near her on the phone could only hear that and nothing else. Yeah.
I was freaking out. I was like, what's going on? Someone tell me what's happening.
Yes. But that's the way the fight ended. So it was a weird way to end because the momentum of the whole place like died down because that was a very action-packed 2.5 minutes. Very entertaining.
2.5 minutes. That's
right?
Crazy.
Yes. But yeah, I caught that armbar. He tapped. The ref stopped the fight. The momentum died. There was a little post-fight interview, which I don't even remember what I said. Nobody could hear what I said because I still had my mouth guard in my mouth. And then... then the night went on. Mm-hmm. I posted a video on my Facebook and Instagram if you guys want to see the fight at all. I should probably also post it on BJJ marriage stuff.
Probably.
But it was very, very entertaining.
Slacking on posting BJJ marriage stuff, so we'll get back on that eventually.
Yes.
Like recipes and newsletters and stuff. So, yeah, that was a fight.
How'd you feel about it?
I was nervous the whole time, obviously. And I got very upset when I saw the slam. But it was kind of cool because inverse fighting is actually run by Open Guard. So the sons of Dan and Lori La Paz, the people who run and own Open Guard, actually started this company, started Inverse, and they put on a great event. They had a fantastic venue. It was laid out really well, at least from what I could see on the camera. Mm-hmm. And I think they did a good job with like lining up people and matching up people and trying to get the...
Yeah, there were a lot of close fights. There was a couple draws, actually. Mm-hmm. They had cage grappling, then they had pankration, then they had MMA fights.
Yeah. Yeah, so they ran it really well, very professionally. So I thought that it was really cool. But because it was run by Open Guard, it was kind of like Open Guard versus the world. So, well, there's obviously a lot of people at Open Guard who compete. And so there's a lot of people from Open Guard on the cards. Mm-hmm. And you could just hear it, like when Nick and Pal were going against each other, that Pal definitely had the advantage in the room with the crowd that was there. Favorite. Yeah, definitely. And that was just kind of how it was for everyone. So it was just, it's cool. It's cool to kind of go out there with that kind of pressure. Oh,
yeah. I beat up my corner more than I beat up Pal. Gabe was in the back warming me up, and we were practicing a lot of striking. Mm-hmm. And it was really funny because they walked me out to the cage, and then my corner was Brenton, black belt at Fluid, Josh, black belt at White Lotus, both my jiu-jitsu coaches. And then Gabe, who's our Muay Thai coach, and they walked me out to the cage. They got to the corner, and then the three of them were like, "Who's gonna go in there with the stool and with the water?" And Gabe was like, "I can't walk up those stairs." Nick ate up my legs too much, and then he was bruised the next week because
That's funny.
I'd kicked him too much and too hard while getting warmed up. Mm-hmm. That was a good time, though. Yeah. Thanks, Gabe.
So congratulations.
For sacrificing your body.
Congratulations on your win.
Oh, thank you.
It's very cool. I know it was very controversial, but...
You know, we'll see what happens in the future. If we cross paths again, I'm sure it'll be a good time. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, yeah, kind of leading into our main topic of today, going off of what he had mentioned about having Brent and Josh as black belts in his corner and then rolling... Mm-hmm. at Morning Star and rolling at Mente and all these places and kind of...
Good accent there.
That's how it's supposed to be pronounced.
I know.
You said Mente like a gringo.
Yeah, I'm a gringo.
But, yeah, so we, just as jiu-jitsu practitioners, we don't run into too many black belts in our careers until you start leveling up and people start leveling up with you. But typically as like one school has anywhere between 1 and 5, I would say. Whereas like there's probably like 40 white belts at your gym. So the ratio of black belts to white belts is obviously very different. And we feel like brown belts are just kind of unheard of. They're very rare.
Brown belts.
And I don't really know why that is.
A lot of people, brown belt is like the shortest belt.
Mm-hmm. I could see that. But, so when you get to roll with the black belt, you have to kind of take it in any way that you want to. And I say it that way because depending on who you're working with, you have to figure out what your goal is with them. And the goal, I personally believe, should always be to learn from that role and figure out what's happening and what they're doing. I thought the goal is to win. But some people's goals are to test themselves against a black belt. Some people's goals are to defend absolutely everything. Some people's goals are to attack them at every possible way. And some people's goals are to watch what they do and then do it on other people.
So you said your goal is to learn from black belts you roll with? Mm-hmm. What do you think my goal is?
Kill.
Kill? I don't think so.
No.
You would see much different roles if I was trying to kill black belts.
I don't know what your goal is.
Yeah, that's what I was wondering. What do you think?
I think it's to learn.
You think it's
That's what I just said.
Okay. That was a question, not a I think. My goal when rolling with new black belts is to develop long-lasting relationships with them.
Okay. I could see that. Mm-hmm. So yeah, see, everyone's goals are a little different. And I feel like I hear it a little different from every black belt too. Like they say, when you're rolling with a black belt, this is what you should be trying to do, or this is what we're expecting from you, or this is how I'm going to promote you, and like so on and so forth. You always hear a different spiel from every black belt. And so you kind of have to take it into consideration of what you're trying to get out of that role.
Mm-hmm. I would say that not even with black belts, with anyone I roll with, outside of competing against them, my goal is to build a relationship with them.
That's cool. Have like those lasting relationships where you can continue to visit, especially if it's out of state.
That's right.
Things like that.
Yes.
Which is cool.
Yes, because some people have the goal of going in and just killing whoever they roll with. And if it's a black belt, they want to test themselves. Can I tap out this black belt?
Yep.
Right? But how many times have you had that person come to your gym and then you're like, I hope that fucker never comes back. He's a dick. Because all they're trying to do is tap us out for some reason. Instead of seeing what kind of style this school has, seeing what this school is good at, trying to see if you need a resource on this type of move, who you can reach out to, building your network, making new friends, learning jiu-jitsu instead of just proving the jiu-jitsu that you already know.
Right.
Because, you can, if you're going to roll like that, just go compete.
For sure. And then go do absolute, because then you can really roll against a black belt. And see how you actually do in a competition setting against them.
That's right.
Which you're thinking about doing absolute?
Yeah.
On December 3rd?
It's a maybe.
Possibly.
I had to talk to my coaches. See what they think. But I forgot what I was saying.
I was typing.
Oh, okay.
Building relationships. I don't know. So I thought that something that was really cool that my dad had brought up in Denver at his Cog Theory seminar is he was like, when you are rolling with me, you should be watching what I'm doing and trying to figure out how I'm stopping you. Because if you're just trying to, I don't remember how he put it, but basically if you're just trying to dominate the roll, or you're just trying to defend the whole roll, and you're not like actively like doing stuff to make them try to attack you or to make them defend what you're doing, then you're just kind of wasting your time rolling with a black belt, because you could be doing that with really anyone. Whereas like a black belt typically has between 8 to 40 years of experience.
8 to 40?
Yeah.
Okay, Master Sauer. Just coming in hot with that 40 years of experience.
Yep. But, I mean, even at the minimum 8 years, that's a lot of time put in on the mats. That's a lot of blood, sweat, tears that they've dedicated to their lives, and that's a lot of learning capabilities that they're willing to share with you. And so if you are just trying to prove how good you are, then you're not really learning from their experience, their mistakes. Something that my dad says often is that he didn't have the type of teaching that we do now, 20 years ago. And so there's things that took him 6 months to learn that he can now break down and teach us in 3 minutes.
Yeah, and he says that's why we pay a membership.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Like, I remember even with the triangle, he said that he went the wrong way on a triangle for like 6 months.
Yeah.
Until you officially learn how to do that. Whereas, like, when you're rolling with a black belt, you can figure out, oh, well, that makes sense. They do it that way. Wonder if I do it that way, if it'll work better.
Yeah. But some people, when they are rolling, they don't have, their brain's not activated. They're going purely off of what their body feels. And some people don't think when they roll, which is fine. Some people are only thinking when they roll, and you can tell that when you roll with people who are thinking way too hard and they're just not moving at all.
Right.
The sweet spot is when you do a little bit of both.
Yeah, so I would say depending on the black belt that I'm rolling with is how I roll, I guess. So, like, there's different people that I can think of off the top of my head that I roll with a little bit differently. Like, I won't roll with Josh Janis the same way that I'll roll with my dad, just because their body types are different.
Yeah.
So, like,
and their styles are completely different.
Totally different. And that's kind of the nice part about rolling with a black belt that you know, is that you kind of know their style. You know what they're going to do. Whereas if you roll with a black belt you don't know, I do tend to be a little bit more reserved with black belts that I don't know. Just because I don't know their style. I don't know what they're going to try to do to me. So I pretty much turn on the things that I know how to do and then just figure out what they're going to do to defend it. Or what they're going to do to kill me.
Sure. The way I treat black belts I don't know is I treat them like a puzzle I'm trying to solve. I show up to the puzzle and I just start, playing with one piece at a time. And I don't, try to smother the puzzle and just like smash it into what I want it to be. Because that's never going to work with any black belt anyways.
Right. I remember one of my first times rolling with He's a black belt that comes to our open mats. His name is Derek Beeler.
Yeah.
And I rolled with him, and I was, again, going down to my, like, very reserved, and I was just kind of defending and moving and just trying to have fun and play and flow, which is, there's nothing wrong with that. And we had a good roll. It was fine, and he told me I did well, and then we went on our merry way and kept rolling with other people. So then he had told me, because he rolled with my 14-year-old sister, too, he was like, your sister is much more aggressive than you. And I was like, what? Because I hear all the time how aggressive.
See how it feels?
He was like, because I get told all the time how aggressive I am and how I just kind of go at people. But I do it in, like, a controlled sense. So I don't just try to, like, absolutely dominate. I like to move and I like to keep going. I don't really like to sit there and defend a whole lot. So I was just very taken aback by that because I was like, what do you mean she's more aggressive? I'm supposed to be more
Henry,
aggressive.
What do you mean? She puts you in more danger.
But that's because I was attacking him.
That's right.
And actually, because of Derek Beeler, I have now started attacking black belts I don't know. Because I was like, okay, I played that too safe. I played that too reserved that now they think that I just want to sit there and defend. And that's not how I play jiu-jitsu. So when I was rolling with Henry, I was attacking him. When I roll with my dad, I attack him. And I just attack people. Because they're going to stop me. I'm not going to catch them. I'm not going in there expecting to catch them or tap them. That's not my goal.
Yeah.
My goal is just to let them know I'm here to play.
Yeah.
And please stop me so I can get better.
Yeah. Part of my goal in building relationships is when I go to gyms, I don't want them to think that I'm like a douchey purple belt that's just trying to, take names.
Mm-hmm.
Because, like, your body type is much less, what's the word I'm looking for? Not looking for aggressive, but, like, you're seemingly less dangerous than my body type. Because I'm a 170-pound
male.
Not an older male. I'm, like, in my prime of physical fitness, right? And you are a 125-pound woman.
That's generous. I'm not. I'm 140, but thank you.
See? I'm playing long game here.
Yep.
So, yeah, you're like a 140-pound smaller woman that isn't going to, outweigh any black belt that you roll with, right?
Right.
And I don't want people to think that I'm just coming in there and trying to use my physical attributes to supplement my jiu-jitsu. Most of the time when I roll with people, I make jiu-jitsu submissions come as a gift through my technique. And when I'm rolling with a black belt, I'm trying to see what gifts that they're trying to find out of me and see what gifts are available whenever I roll with them on their end also.
Sure.
And, jiu-jitsu is a language that we're speaking with each other. And it would be like if I show up and just start screaming at the black belt with my jiu-jitsu, what kind of conversation are we going to have in our role? What kind of information are we going to be able to talk to each other with? Probably none. And they're probably not going to scream back at me. They're just going to not listen.
Right. And that's another thing that we were always taught too in the dojo is when you're visiting other schools, you're not supposed to ask a black belt to roll because going to that scenario, they basically take that as an offense that you're screaming at them and you're challenging them.
Hey, fucker, let's roll.
Yeah. Like you're challenging them to a duel. And so...
challenge you to a duel. Charles Harriet.
Yep. And so you're not supposed to respectfully ask a black belt to roll in another gym. You're supposed to wait for them to ask you. Because if you ask them, again, they take it as a challenge and then they just try to dominate you.
I have not had that happen.
I haven't either. Because
I feel like it's a myth.
I think it's changing. I think
you're right.
Jiu-jitsu is evolving a little bit. But 15, 20 years ago, it was all about respect. I'm not saying it's not anymore, but like it was very, very strict on respect, I feel. And that was one of those respect rules that people were just learning.
Yeah, I think back in the day, black belts used to actually be gods on the mat. And now they are more common. Mm-hmm. And it's not the same as it was.
Mm-hmm. And again, it's very respectful still. Like, we obviously take care of each other, and we take our shoes off on the mat, and we respect the tap, and it's still a very respectful sport, but I feel like it's evolving, especially, like, because leg locks used to be a dirty thing. Like, people just look at leg locks as dirty.
Yeah.
And now they're just part of most gyms' games.
Yeah, like, people have leg days at their gyms where all they do is leg locks.
Yep. But, I mean, 20 years ago, leg locks were just, you were being disrespectful. You were trying to kill them. Jeez.
Yes. I guess our dogs are wrestling now.
Yep.
They're trying to do leg locks.
Sorry, guys.
Yeah.
They actually do. Olive goes for a single leg on Scarlet a lot.
Olive always goes for single leg.
Do you guys ever, if you have 2 dogs, do they wrestle? And if they do you, like, commentate what they're doing? Because we do all the time.
Yes, we do.
Like, Olive will literally, like, head dive underneath our other dog's legs and just lift her up for a single leg. And then the other one will just bite her neck and drag her around by her neck.
Yep, that's how that goes.
But it's very entertaining. Anyway, so yeah. Respect, I feel like, has evolved. That's the best way to put it.
Sure, yeah. Yeah, I feel like it's changed a bit, and yeah, you put it well already.
I think that another thing, too, with the reason that I attack black belts more is because I am a smaller female. I feel like I'm already seen as inferior.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, and that's not like, I'm not trying to say that in a negative way. It's just how society and the art just generally sees women. Like, we're
or
still
smaller people.
Yeah, we're still building
general.
ourselves up. I mean, even a 130-pound male, you're still seen as inferior compared to a 170-pound male. It's just natural science, natural physics. And so that's what jiu-jitsu teaches you, is how the smaller person can beat the larger person, and so on and so forth. You know that. So
what?
I think that my goal when I'm rolling with black belts is to show them that I'm not inferior. I've put my time in on the mats. I continue to learn. I continue to evolve. And I'm going to show you what I've been working on so you can stop me. Again, my goal is not to tap you, because I know it's not going to happen. If it does, fantastic. Great. I'm not going to go bloat. I'm not going to go gloat about it. But I just want to prove myself that even though I'm a female and even though I'm a little smaller than a male, I can still do things that a male can do.
Yeah.
At my level.
You can still do jiu-jitsu.
Yeah.
Jiu-jitsu is not male or female centric. It follows the body however you employ it.
So that's my reason. And also because Derek Beeler told me that my sister's more aggressive than me. And she's not, so...
Yeah, now I have to figure out how hard I want to roll with black belts.
But I think that Henry's comment kind of changed your perspective on it a little bit, right?
Yeah.
Because you said that you take it too easy on yourself when you're rolling with a black belt. Like, you just go a little too flowy. Maybe you got to turn it up a little bit.
Yeah, but I don't want them to think I'm a dick.
Yeah.
It's a weird spot to be in. I feel like as a brown belt, I can turn it up and they're not going to think that I'm trying to prove anything. I don't know, maybe we should ask some black belts. But, yeah. That's how I feel about it. Because I feel like as a purple belt, black belts look at that purple belt and they're like, here we go again. I'm going to have to fight real hard on this. I don't know.
I guess. So, how are you rolling with people in Denver? People that you didn't know? And maybe not even just the black belts, but like everyone. How were you rolling with them versus how you roll at our home gym?
I was nicer to them. I'm not gonna lie.
I wasn't.
Yeah, I was nicer to them because I'm not trying to roll up to a new school and like assert dominance.
Sure.
I'm trying to see what their technique is like and see where they're trying to poke holes in my game. Ultimately. Mm-hmm. So, yeah. That
makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I just go out there and I just try to attack everyone. But again, I think that comes with this whole stereotype of being a female. I think I'm allowed to do that. Whereas if roles were reversed, I think it would be seen as a dick move.
Yeah.
But me, it's like, whoa, this girl is like trying to kill me. I have to amp it up. Because I get very upset when people turn it down with me. And it's not that, like, if you have a size difference or a rank difference, then I get it. That makes sense. But at least match me. Like, I hate it when people just lay there and they're like, oh, okay, here, you can take my arm. I'm like, no, if you give me your arm, I'm going to break it.
Yeah, my goal is for when people think about me and my jiu-jitsu, I don't want them to think that I'm tough and I'm strong, which I am those things. But I want them to think, wow, he's got great technique. I've never seen anyone move like that type of jiu-jitsu. That's what I'm always looking for. And I know I do feel like I get that compliment more than I get tough and strong. But I know when I compete against people, I get compliments like, you're strong, which is a difference in my game.
Yeah,
Excuse me.
That makes sense. Yeah, and I think it just all comes down to you are in a disadvantage with being a 170, 30-year-old purple belt male.
Right.
So that sucks.
Like prime place for everything.
Yeah. Like you are the stereotype.
Yeah. Yes.
So I hope you can get past that.
Yeah. Maybe one day I'll get brown or something.
Maybe.
Who knows?
You'll probably quit by then.
Yeah, I'm probably going to get spicy blue belt blues.
Yeah. Interesting.
Yes.
So yeah, I would say that it again comes down to the black belt that you're rolling with too. And you, because I mean, at that point too, by the time that they're a black belt, they've probably become an expert in something. They probably have found, probably. Yeah, they've probably found their thing that they have gotten really, really good at over the years. And that they can now share their knowledge with you on that thing. So like Nick was saying that he was working with Josh Janis on Darces. Josh Janis happens to know quite a bit about Darces because he's studied them and he has worked on them for multiple years. Yeah. And it's a hole in our game because we don't really do Darces at our gym. So that's just something that he can take away with rolling with Josh. Whereas like things that he can take away rolling with my dad is stuff from side control. How to hold side control better, how to attack from side control, how to move from side control, things like that. Or crossbody or whatever you want to call it.
How to pin people.
Yeah. And so you can learn different things from different styles, which is kind of why, that's why I always get reserved when I'm rolling with black belts that I don't know, because I'm like, well, what is their thing?
Right.
Like I remember in Colorado, I ended up getting Darced and I was like, oh, I don't know what to do.
Oh no.
I was like, these people are good at Darces and I've never been Darced before.
Yeah. See, that's why I need to bring Darces to Fluid. With my short little arms. Yeah.
I'm trying to think about, like, if there's something that you could do differently. Like, not you specifically, but just people in general. Like, what is it that you think that a black belt is looking for in their roles with you? Because that's the other thing. So when we were in Denver, Tim, the owner of Morning Star, he is the black belt there. And I'm not sure if there was other black belts there too. I know there's some brown belts.
There's no gi, so
yeah,
who knows?
Couldn't tell. But Tim is a black belt. He teaches 6 days a week and he runs his own academy. And so he's constantly teaching and evolving with lower belts, which is great. Fantastic. So he doesn't get the chance to roll with people who can tap him out very often. And so when it was time to roll after the seminar, Tim only rolled with my dad. He didn't roll with anyone else. It's his off day. Didn't blame him. I don't like rolling on my off day either. So we weren't faulting him for not rolling, but it was an interesting perspective for me to see him roll with a black belt because in his mind, he was probably like, oh, I don't really get to roll with people who are either equal rank or better very often. So I'm going to take this opportunity to go roll with him.
Yeah.
Whereas like, when you're just rolling with people who are lower than you, you're gonna see them all the time. You're gonna be able to roll with them and test your stuff on them all the time. So it's cool for black belts to be able to roll with each other because then they can continue to build and grow and learn off of each other as well.
Yeah.
But I'm wondering what they think and what their goals are in when they're rolling with each other.
Yeah. If you're a black belt, drop in the comments.
Yeah.
It'd be super cool to hear your insight on what it's like to roll with other black belts.
Yeah. And what you're trying to take out of it because, black belt varies too. I mean, when you're a white belt, not that all white belts are the same, because obviously there's different levels of experience. And I've made the argument that I think every stripe, you're a different type of grappler. And I mean, when you just get your fresh black belt, I mean, you were a brown belt yesterday and now you're a black belt, but you want to roll with a 4th degree black belt like that. There's a big difference there.
Yeah. Cause it's like 4 belts past black.
Right. Where that would be like a white belt rolling with a brown belt in comparison.
Yeah. In time.
Mm-hmm. So it's always interesting for me to think about what a black belt wants out of a roll. And depending on who they're going with, are they trying to get the same result, same goal? Just interesting perspectives. Maybe one day we'll get there to be able to give our insight on it.
Maybe.
Mm-hmm. And I know I also roll differently with women, too, than I do with men. And that's not even like I don't do it purposely. It's like subconsciously I roll differently with women than I do with men.
I don't.
No?
No. I scream my jiu-jitsu to everyone. No, my style outside of competition is very flowy and fluid. So it's the same. It's all based on how much pressure my training partner is giving me is how my game adjusts.
You just match them. Nice.
Yes. I also do that with black belts. I match whatever they're trying to do. So, I'm not trying to just continually turn it up when I'm rolling with a black belt. So I'm trying not to be a dick.
It's a good goal. Not be a dick.
Yeah. I don't want to be tough and strong. I want to be technical and fluid. Ding, ding, ding.
Yeah. So, all right. I think we've exhausted that topic a little bit. What is coming up that we can talk about? We have Master Sour.
Mm-hmm. December 3rd, Grappling Industries, Wisconsin Dells.
Yep. We have a belt ceremony in between those.
Mm-hmm. Might be doing Checkmat December 17th, submission only tournament.
Is that at Primal?
Yeah.
That's cool.
I'm thinking about that.
Yeah. And then, oh my goodness. Sorry. We have a Thanksgiving open mat for anyone who's interested in the Milwaukee area. 10 a.m. Thanksgiving morning.
Nice.
And so we can eat before we roll.
What?
Roll before we eat? Wow.
I don't think that's a great idea, Brittany.
I was like, what are you talking about?
I'm going to have some turkey stuffing and then do knee on belly.
Gross. Sounds terrible. But yeah, we have a belt ceremony coming up, so that'll be exciting. We have 2 people turning purple and 1 person turning brown, so that'll be awesome. Yes,
very exciting.
And
some of our good friends.
Christmas party. Lots of stuff. It's almost the end of the year. It's crazy.
It's getting cold out there.
Mm-hmm.
I had to put my snow brush in my car.
It's cold down here and we're in socks today.
I'm not.
So.
All right.
Well, thanks for listening.
Yeah, I think that's it.
We'll probably have a picture with Master Sour next week. The chances of him being on the podcast are slim to none, but
we'll see.
Yeah, we'll try. So I hope you guys have a great week of training, and we'll talk to you soon.
See ya.